Greetings and salutations, fellow South African billionaires. How are you all today? The chat can't answer.
Yeah, none of us
They
can.
can only sit there and be like, what?
We wish we were. We can't all be rich.
The world's most famous African American has done it again. Like, never let it be said that the African American spirit lacks entrepreneurship, as Elon Musk has offered to buy Twitter for $43 billion. Though Twitter does not appear to have been particularly fond of this offer, as it turns out.
Oh, really? That's strange. I couldn't have seen that coming.
Yeah, Twitter's, they're not interested in Elon owning them because, well, he seems to want them to not censor things, which they don't seem particularly happy with, weirdly enough. This whole saga started when he bought a 9% share in the company a little while ago, and very unexpectedly as well. When Twitter was very like, Elon, please join our board. Oh, by the way, sign these documents, which will bind you hand and foot, basically. And Elon told them all to go and ride on something made out of plastic, on something that vibrated violently. And ever since, there's been a little bit of back and forth warfare between the two, with Twitter now trying to... I don't know if they've succeeded yet, but they're trying to pass through a board resolution, which means that no one is allowed to buy more than 15% of Twitter. And if somebody does buy 15% or more, that will automatically initiate a... I don't know the technological terms for it, but basically, if Twitter had 1,000 stocks and somebody bought 15% of that, the moment that happens, everyone else can then buy more stocks, meaning that the person who bought 15% will have his shares diluted by whatever quantity of stocks the rest of the shareholders wish to purchase then.
It's interesting. Quick question: What do you think made Elon Musk eventually do this? Because I don't really follow him on Twitter, but I did know that he keeps making a lot of free speech, racket, so to speak. So it's not too surprising seeing him actually make a move, because he had been foreshadowing this for quite a while.
Well, it is difficult to speculate as to the motivations of the King of Mars, but see, there's two interpretations here, both of which I think might very well be equally valid. Because Elon has had a fairly lengthy history on the internet at this point, for better or for worse. He has had some interesting opinions, and he has done some interesting things, some of which can definitely be perceived as a little bit hypocritical as well. For example, he's always been a pretty strident free speech absolutist when it comes to the West and, well, our values and our societies, but he is more than happy to, sell his stuff in China, for example. He's more than happy to work alongside China and many other regimes that tend to be a little bit less generous, shall we say, with allowing their people to speak.
That's true, but you can't change the world unless you have the money and the power and the influence to do so.
That's kind of the thing, and it's like, okay, Elon Musk could take a principled stance and refuse to work together with China. He would achieve nothing by doing this.
That's the thing about principles. The principles are important, but sometimes if you truly want change, you have to get a little dirty.
There is also the simple rationale that everyone's doing business with China. Like, lambasting someone for doing business with China is like lambasting somebody for breathing right now. It is simply that large of a market.
As much as you try, look around your room, how much of the stuff you have is made in China. And it sucks, because you try to buy, local, but no matter what, there's this piece of plastic, there's that little thing over there. I'm sure there's more than a fair few things that have been made in China. It's very hard to, because the world's global market's so interconnected these days.
And it is a much larger problem, which I still maintain that our best chance to, quote-unquote, defeat China is in our own large-scale culture war. We should go for a civics victory in this game of civilization, you see. Because that's how we beat the Soviet Union. the West was simply just better, to the point that there was enormous civil unrest beginning to brew within the Soviet Union, and the first real cracks began to appear when the Soviet government was de facto forced to begin the glasnost systems, where they began opening up slowly but surely more and more. Like, that is how we deal with China. The problem is the West's moral high horse has turned into more of a donkey these last 10, 20 years.
Regrettable. But yeah, I mean, you remember the Pizza Hut Gorbachev thing, right? Like, it's all about just getting them to experience and taste a little bit of that root beer, because you know what? It's insidious. At first, they may not like it, but with a little bit of time, they learn to love it, and it grows on them.
You're ripping off Star Trek. Stop it.
I know. I ripped off the root beer thing from Deep Space Nine. It's such a great line, and it's very true. It's very true. This very much is applicable here to a lot of regimes. Like, look at Vietnam. Vietnam is opening its doors to us more and more as they realize that they're actually more aligned with us than they have been with China. To be fair, they never were aligned with China due to the war that they had with them and the border tensions. But, what was it, a couple years ago, opening up our first McDonald's over there. Once they've had a little bit of that taste, they can't stop.
And now, freedom is indeed an insidious taste, and you can get a lot of support if you just dole it out a little bit here and there carefully. But, the future of Asia is not our primary concern right now. It's the South African again, because one of the potential theories here is that Elon simply wants to, find a way to loosen up his money, to get it a little bit more liquid. Because one of the problems with being tied up in Tesla is that Tesla's stocks are tied practically directly to Elon Musk's fucking Twitter account.
Up and down we go.
Yep. And that is a genuine issue, because if Elon starts to sell his I was about to say Twitter, but his Tesla stock, Tesla and Twitter, this is going to be a problem. I can tell it now. But yes, if Elon Musk starts to sell Tesla stock, that is going to be perceived by virtually the entire market as an, oh my god, sell now. So he needs to be very, very, very careful when he divests himself of any value in Tesla, which basically means that all of those billions of dollars are stuck. They're frozen. They are non-liquid, so he can't use them. And, moving them off into Twitter would give him a very good justification. He's not fleeing Tesla. He's not dumping his stocks in Tesla. He's making another very large investment in another very large company, which it also makes ideological sense for him to invest in. And maybe that's all he's trying to do. He's trying to create cover for a bit of a sale of Tesla stock, bit of a buy-in in Twitter stocks, so that nobody panics when he begins to liquefy a little bit.
Yep.
And I mean, it's Twitter stock. Like, it's not like it's worthless. And to be fair as well, Twitter right now is worth a lot less than it was. Like, Twitter is in a bit of a dip now because they've had a lot of problems recently. They don't have exactly the best reputation. Jack Dorsey himself, of course, saying various interesting things. The whole Russia thing, which has cut them off from an enormous piece of the market, etc., etc., etc. This is not the best time to be Twitter. So launching essentially a hostile takeover now could be very profitable in six years, 2 or 3 even, maybe.
Build back and build it much better than what it was. I mean, to improve Twitter's infrastructure wouldn't take much. That's the funny part.
Yeah, see, that's the thing too. If Elon is planning for this to be a simple investment, something that he'll move into and he'll get a lot of money out of, it wouldn't be hard. Because right now, there are Twitter competitors. All of them are tiny. All of them have a very hard time getting any traction. All of them have been beat to shit by the mainstream media. Though, granted, see, I was about to say that's going to be a thing where they can't just change their position willy-nilly, but I remember seeing an article in a Norwegian newspaper literally today Which was like, no, 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 that's not a Nazi symbol on Zelensky's t-shirt. It's just the Balkan cross. Like, oh, a year ago, I doubt you'd see the difference, Mr. Newspaper, but thank you for pointing that out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, none of the competitors are going anywhere. And the thing, too, is, even if we say that the lefties, the wokist crowd, is going to be like, oh my god, Elon, he won't censor people we don't like. We shall flee to other platforms. Okay, where are you going to go? Gab?
Then go to Facebook, I guess.
Yes, you can go to the conservative alternatives or Facebook.
They're not gonna go anywhere. It's the same thing like those little whingy bastards said in 2016, like, we're gonna go to Canada. And then what do? They're like, oh, I'm over it after a week. And they're just bitching on Twitter, just like they will be there. Like, the thing is, Elon Musk takes over Twitter. The worst thing that happens is that more people are allowed to say more things than they were before. And there's more free speech. These people will still stay insulated in their little bubbles and whine and whinge into the void, like they always do. Nothing will actually change.
And there's the key point as well. Right now, Twitter has lost quite a lot of traffic in certain cases to alternatives, or simply by not having people on. Like, the Trumphalophagus alone would create enormous traffic. If Elon actually got in charge and said, okay, I'm just scrubbing the entire ban list of anyone via banned for terms of service or political reasons, Trump would be back, Sargon would be back, everyone would be back. The platform's usage would rise tremendously overnight, literally. And Elon would be hailed as the savior of Twitter. Like, literally, he would be able to sell all of it in 2, 3, 4 years, and he'd be seen as the brilliant tech mogul who fixed the platform that was in a steady decline previously.
Mm-hmm. It's not a bad move because, like you said, fixing Twitter is actually fairly simple. The best part is the people at the top are so incompetent and inept because they're ruled by their political ideologies that they just want to bend and twist and break everything to adhere to their platform, so to speak. Like, basically fixing this issue, all it requires is a snap of a finger. Unbanning people, and then improving quality of life functionality, adding a simple edit button, will win over lots of favor. Twitter it's an easy win. It's just sitting there waiting for him to grab it.
It's an incredibly simple win. Like, you mentioned, like, adding in an edit button and some basic, quality of life stuff. Even that isn't necessary. Like, he doesn't even need to do that. Like,
nope.
That's how simple this is. All he would have to do to see Twitter's usage increase by 10%, maybe more, is literally go into the back end and click unban on Donald Trump. Voila. It's the dumbest thing.
And it's funny. The best part is, when you realize this, you begin to realize that this entire corporation has shafted itself due to its own political BS. Like, that really is that simple. This company, Twitter, would be doing a lot better if they wouldn't let their politics interfere with their business.
It's dumb. And that's one of the reasons why Elon might be doing this, simply because it would be an enormously easy win. Like, he could sell these stocks at least a 25%, if not 30, 40, maybe 50 or more percent markup in just a couple of years. It would be enormous. And that might be part of it, because it would allow him to... It would also be a far easier out. Like, he's bound hand and foot to Tesla. Like, he can't divest without people getting a little bit panicky. In Twitter, it's not a problem. Like, when he sells, he can just walk away and be hailed as the savior of the entire platform.
Yep.
There is, of course, also another explanation, which is the more hopeful explanation. That's that he has more money than literally any other person on the entire goddamn planet, and has decided to use some of this in the way of, well, certain other millionaires and billionaires that tend to be on the other side of the aisle, pushing agendas.
The hypocrisy is what we're segueing into, right?
Yes, there was a. Actually, I'm pretty sure I saved it somewhere. There was a lovely little title on. Where was it even? There was a lovely little title on one of these newspapers, basically saying that we needed regulation now because we couldn't allow the richest people in the world to own our means of communication. This was said by the newspaper, who was owned by Jeff Bezos.
Oh yes, we were talking about that last night when we were playing PC. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Jeff Bezos owned papers like, we can't let millionaires own stuff. Except, only specifically Elon Musk, and only specifically people that do not agree or tout the party line. Oh, these political ideologues, they're so annoying. It's nice and refreshing when we get a millionaire or a billionaire that just doesn't give a shit about them.
Not the headline I was thinking of, but it does talk about it, and it does point out the idiocy of this. By the way, hurry up and click that button, otherwise the person is going to start talking to you real soon.
What button?
The pause button on the video.
Allow ads. Refresh page. God, fuck it. Oh my god.
The Washington Post is what it was, which again was championing that we should put in place restrictions. We can't allow billionaires to simply own things that affect the public consciousness. That'd be terrible. What would happen if we allowed people like George Soros or Jeff Bezos to own newspapers and institutions?
We can't allow rich and wealthy people to influence things. That'd be strange. Looks at Congress and the Senate. Oh no! How did this happen? Oh, I don't know.
There was also Michael Bloomberg, another billionaire owner of a news organization, who said Musk's investment in Twitter could be bad news for free speech. Ah, yes, the very wide definition of free speech, the very selective one too.
Yeah, of course.
I also really loved another one. I believe this one was from Bloomberg, the news organization owned by Michael Bloomberg, where they said something like, let's see. Now comes Musk, quoting here, one of Silicon Valley's giants ready to scoop up an influential social media platform. If anything, Twitter's moderation has been too permissive, but Musk claims the opposite and says the company has somehow inhibited his free speech. No one should buy that line, and Musk shouldn't buy Twitter. His goal is not free expression, but control.
That is
this coming from the modern-day leftist mainstream media.
That one's beautiful, by the way. That one is absolutely beautiful. I love the hypocrisy in that one. It's like, oh, I saw that on Twitter. There was actually a few of those goddamn check marks where they were going on about like, oh, this is going to be such a loss for free speech because free speech is about moderation and increased heavy-handed moderation. And it's like, holy crap. Like, what kind of drugs are you on? The reality is so distorted in some people's eyes.
It has been a part of a general outcry against this, and whilst we may debate Elon's motivations here, whether it be simple money or something more ideologically motivated, I'm pretty damn sure that he's more of a free speech person than, well, Jeff Bezos or Jack Dorsey is, or any of these people, honestly.
Yep, and I'd honestly rather the wealthy, influential people that make these decisions or influence things, so to speak, be people like Elon Musk, who are willing to allow people to voice themselves regardless of their beliefs. You know, everyone should have the ability to speak, even if their ideas are stupid or silly. It's not our place to judge. It's the job of these companies to allow and facilitate that platform for those people. It's not them to dictate what can and can't be said.
Now hold on there.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
As much as I would agree with that sentiment 5 years ago, the internet has taught me many valuable lessons.
I told you you changed, and I'm the one who didn't. Barch, I'm here to keep you reeled in. You're gonna go crazy. Or he will turn alt-centrist or something, I don't know.
Extreme centrism.
I don't even know what that looks like, but I imagine that's where you're headed.
I see. Again, like I said this when Trump was announcing that he was going to do some social media stuff. He did not plan well enough for that either time.
He didn't have.
Well,
the problem is you can have the money to do these things, but you need to have the vision for it. He should take a step back, find somebody who has the vision for what it is that he's sort of looking for, and let that person direct it rather than having him direct it. Because you want a visionary who's actually able to see what you want, like a quote-unquote Twitter for free speech. And the hypocrisy of that social media platform where it's like, oh yeah, and there won't be pornography or other things. It's like, no. Allow everything. The thing about free speech is everything. You'll get everyone. There's art.
yes.
You know, don't start adding restrictions, because the minute you start with restrictions, that's a quick slippery slope into more and more I forget the word where it's like when you put duct tape over someone's mouth. Censorship. There you go.
Yeah, that's a rough correlation.
Good enough.
But no, ideally, I would like an absolute free speech platform where you could have anyone saying whatever they wanted, making whatever groups they wanted, within the realms of legality, obviously. But at the same time, you know what? I think maybe a limited period, maybe say 5 years of the reverse. Of people who are on the other side of the political aisle, experiencing a little bit of what they have imposed upon everyone else.
Well,
Just because...
see, I get where you're coming from. That's beautiful because it is poetic justice, isn't it? But at the same time, if the pendulum swings far back to the right and it swings too hard, we'll get stuck with remember the puritanical like religious phase that we went through in gaming, where these games are Satan, and that led to the creation of things like the ESRB. I think that was under the Clintons, if I remember right. That was before my time. But you don't want it to swing too hard. The goal is that the pendulum is just gently rocking back and forth.
So long as it gently rocks far enough to the point where some people lose their Twitter accounts and get to whinge about it.
It would be poetic justice to see the people that that what's the word? Promote these sort of censorship things get their just due, so to speak.
Basically, every single Twitter account that has ever argued that Twitter needs to moderate to keep out extremist elements, goodbye. You can go and gab now.
That'd be weird. Gab is the gathering of the left now. The puritanical idea.
A few years of opposite world, I think, would teach everyone very, very valuable lessons about how you maybe shouldn't be a massive power-hungry twat. Just a couple years of it.
It would be justice in a way, or it would be maybe not necessarily justice, but gratifying to see.
A few years of the communists being treated like communists, like in the good old days. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the problem is modern day communism is a problem, and that's why we are here right now. Thank you, communists.
Now, whether or not Elon Musk taking over Twitter would or will change anything, that's a far more complicated question. Because I think it would, at least to some degree, because every time I've talked to anyone who's found one of those alternative sites for the first time, like every time somebody finds, for example, Gab, for example, they keep saying the same thing, that they find a lot of people that they just kind of thought had disappeared off the internet. It's like, I didn't know this person was still around. Yeah, it's because they've been quietly deleted somewhere. we've got to remember that the high-profile deletions, they're actually quite rare these days, mostly because a lot of the more problematic elements have already been purged of all of these social media sites. The internet was a lot livelier back in the day, and you could say a lot more stuff. And if Twitter begins leading the way in reintroducing a lot of these people, and maybe begins to expand its portfolio, with like they've been trying to push the idea of videos for ages. The same with Facebook. Facebook has desperately been trying to get up a video and streaming section, but they just can't because, okay, you're an inferior version of YouTube in every single solitary way. Like, you're just as restrictive, you offer very little in the way of advantages, you have way less people on you. Why should we go to you? And this is the same problem that Rumble has and the other alternatives. They don't offer anywhere near enough in the way of advantages to outweigh the problem of moving away from YouTube. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Twitter is enormous. And if it does actually manage to get a reputation as an actual free speech platform, and Musk begins moving on into, for example, video hosting, he would be the closest to being competitive in that regard too. Bearing in mind that YouTube as well has tried that whole social media thing with the comment section, with the announcement thing that you've got on your YouTube page, etc. Everyone's trying to be everything. It's just that all of them have been so similar. There's ironically been very little movement from one platform to the other. Because again, like, what do you gain from changing one platform to another?
Yeah, that's the real trick, right? Like, you've tried Rumble, and you did that during the when your channel got wrongfully taken down, when you got hacked. And I've tried, multiple platforms as well with the things like multi-streaming. There's not a lot of incentive to continue to try Rumble or try Facebook or try these other sources, because what do they necessarily offer you compared to these more well-established things, i.e. YouTube, where the pay is good, or Twitch, which also, if you're on the higher end of Twitch, you get lots more money. The thing is, when you're doing content creation and you're starting to generate revenue, you got to start thinking about it in a practical sense. What is generating revenue? Do you have time to create content for a platform that won't give any sort of revenue gains? How are you going to continue to pay yourself, And that's a serious question a lot of these big content creators have to ask themselves. Why should you switch to a platform that doesn't pay nearly as good?
And this is the vicious cycle again. If you don't have the money, you don't get the content creators because it's a business for them. If you don't get the content creators, you don't get the audience. If you don't get the audience, you don't get the ad revenue, so you don't have the money. If you are lacking any of these 3 points, you're screwed. But finally, and this is more of a further up the stream kind of thing, Elon has that money. He has that influence. And if Elon himself started becoming a George Soros of the quote-unquote right wing, I mean, look at what the left-wing millionaires have achieved over the last decade. It absolutely has a lot of influence and a lot of potential political power in the world. Not to mention as well that here's a little bit of a further out speculation to wrap this up before we move on to the next point. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world who's eyeing space. But his ambitions are constantly being held back by his somewhat too open nature in social media and opposition by various politicians. What is the natural career path of an incredibly rich man being blocked by politicians, Kyle?
Well, let's just say that it normally ends in lethal results. I mean, generally speaking, they will do whatever it takes to hold on to their power. They've always done that. We've seen that time and time again. Anytime, like with the Epstein stuff, right? Or anything else. Like these people that just miraculously die for no reason. These people that wanted to live, committing suicide, There's a lot of suspicious stuff that happens to people that question authority and that have the ability to do something about it.
Well, at least Elon has some bodyguards, I hope.
I hope so too.
I wouldn't be surprised though if when if he manages to get a good grasp of Twitter, he suddenly becomes a little bit more openly political as well.
I mean, that will allow him to be more openly political, because the thing is, once you let loose the reins, because that's the thing, right? That's why these friggin' freaks on these extremists always are afraid of. They're afraid of free speech because the ability for people to discuss ideas and point at the flaws in their ideas and debate these things greatly undermines their emotional approach. The idea that they're going to sell their ideas on emotion rather than logic and facts. It's a standard doctrine, and it's how they managed to do things in the past, because these sort of same Puritans are the same people that, did witch burnings and whatnot. It's easy to stir up emotion and get emotional responses to push your ideology than it is to actually prove that your ideology has, some actual meat or weight to it.
Especially when you've already spent the last 6 years arguing that proof and evidence don't even really exist.
Yes, the fact that there are groups of people arguing that such thing that you just described is already proof enough that these people should be worried about this, because as soon as this stuff happens, they're going to become less popular, and they're going to shrivel up and cease to be as, influential as they once were. Oh, no. Okay, so you posted a picture.
Shriveling.
What? Xbox stuff? What are we doing on Xbox stuff? We're doing video games and entertainment again? I've got a list of things if you want. Ads reportedly coming to Xbox free-to-play games later this year. Ah, yes. I'm not surprised at all.
Well, the thing is now that Microsoft is working towards buying Blizzard, and the fact that they literally own the platform, etc., Microsoft has got itself a little bit of a walled garden. So why should it give you anything for free? And hell, even then, for free. Remind me, but isn't Xbox one of those platforms where you have to... You got to pay for this service
you
for
have
access
to pay
to
to use their online service, which is archaic. I'm not sure if that's how it works still, but no, I'm pretty sure, because I have family that works for Microsoft. So every year I get a free Xbox Live Game Pass card or whatever, and I've got like 7 of them, and I don't know what to do. But, I appreciate it, but it's one of those things where it's like, I still wonder why they do that. Like that's the Game Pass thing. But do they still do the subscription model? I don't know. I don't really redeem those things. I just look at them, chat.
Well, they do it because they can get away with it. And right now, it appears as if they believe that they can maybe even get away with a little bit more. Because what's the best way to really earn money? It's to first charge you a fee to get access to the service, and then advertise you whilst you are getting access to the service.
My next question is free-to-play games. Is this specifically for games they offer free? Because, for example, I did recently plug in one of my old consoles so I could stream content again, but I do recall that you had to not only pay for the service, but there were free-to-play games, for instance, like on the more modern ones, like you could play Warframe, you could play World of Warships, World of Tanks, those sort of free-to-play MMO games are available. Is that the kind of game they're discussing here?
It appears so.
All right. I mean, that would have to be okayed by those games companies as well, and they'll probably be taking a slice of that pie, I would assume.
Now, this is alleged right now that they are going to add advertisement within Xbox free-to-play games, all of them. So what they'd probably want to do will be advertisement added into the game itself. So you wouldn't see like a ad pop up before or after the game. It would be literally like a Pepsi poster inside of the video game.
like in the corner or something,
Yes.
on like a 3D model prop.
Yes.
That's not as egregious as a full-blown ad if they just do it like that. Because I know games companies in the past, and still to this day, will take ad money by just being like, oh, hey, we're going to put Taco Bell in the game, you know? For example, let's just use a Call of Duty game. And one of the levels, or one of the background elements, you might see a Taco Bell bag or something. It's annoying that it's there, but at the same time, it's like, whatever. Like, it's just a background element. It's not necessarily intruding on the gameplay itself. That's the preferred evil, I guess.
Not yet.
That's true.
Is what I would
slippery slope
to there.
You're absolutely right, because the thing is, they're gonna gauge people on how they react, and then they're just gonna like, this made us a little bit more money, but what if we go a little bit further? You know, it's like with the horse thing. Remember? Oh my God, it's like the horse armor. The horse armor from Oblivion, where they're like, hey, you know, we're just gonna do this horse armor. Oh, you guys didn't like that? Oh, okay. And then next game, there's even more DLC, but it's slightly different. It's got more content. People are a little bit more receptive this time around. They figure it out. They test the waters to see how people are. And as time goes on, people become more accepting of new ideas.
Until eventually you end up with modern day television, where if you're watching a movie on the TV, which some people still do, weirdly enough, there'll be like 8 commercial segments, like a segment every like 15 or 20 minutes, and these segments will last for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's horrendous. I'm sorry. That's actually terrible. Like, I can see like, okay, a little bit of advertisement for a free-to-play game, and then it's like you purchase the game, so you pay like $10 or $20, how much of the game's retail price is, whatever they decided, right? And then that's your game now. Like, I could see that, but like, these are free-to-play games. See, that argument doesn't even work there, even devil's advocate-wise, because these are free-to-play from the get-go. They're already going to have business and monetization models for you to be like, buy premium, or buy this premium vehicle, or buy these cosmetics for these skins and shit. Yeah, no, see, there's already monetization factors in there.
Yes. That's one of the other problems as well, because the idea of ads in games is not new. I saw this in a PC gaming magazine like 20 years ago, where they were asking the question, could ads be the future for video game monetization? And, well, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. However, it has to be the video game monetization. You don't get to put in ads and then a freemium economy on top of that again. You gotta pick and choose. The problem is that the video game industry has gotten very, very accustomed to not picking and choosing. See, for example, DLC in full-priced video games. See, the death of the expansion pack being replaced by a dozen less good items at twice the price.
Very true. Oh, what drives me up the wall, right? MechWarrior 5 just announced a new content pack, right? And it's like, it's okay looking. It's got a new mech, and it's got some more melee weapons for the new melee mechanics. Some quality of life stuff is coming in the update. And I'm like, all right. But I looked at the other DLCs, I'm like, that's $20. Like, these ones. Like, if this one's $20 for what they're offering, that's a scam. Because, like, let's look at video games as their base price, right? You see $60, $50, $40 around that ballpark. So you're charging me $20, I'm assuming here, for an expansion that has a pittance of content compared to the full-priced retail version of the game, which came with the whole game and a bunch of slew of other things as well in the retail version. So there's like $20 for a content pack, and the content you look at is like a couple of, like, I don't even know what you could say, like a couple of Starburst candies. You know, it's like, it's just like, oh yay, like I like these, but I can't believe I paid $20 for that, you know? And that's not just isolated to that game either. There's other games, Paradox games, where it's like, you're charging $20 for this update, or this expansion that adds some more stuff, right? The game's base retail price is $40. I expect half of the game's content worth of stuff, and then not like an hour worth to a 20-hour game. It's absurd, and yet they do it.
Yep.
It's
And again, it's how far we've gone. Simply Green in chat mentions this. So this is a wonderful point that's been brought up since time immemorial on this. Remember when skins and maps were free? I mean, that's the thing. Skins. The term skins is a microtransaction term. Back in the day, finding a different costume or painting Doomguy red or whatever, that wasn't a skin, that was a cheat code.
That's true. There was a lot of cheat codes. You still see cheat codes in new games. The new Lego Star Wars game, pretty good, has cheat codes in it. I haven't seen a video game with cheat codes and like unlockables that you can find just finding in-game stuff. That's crazy. Good job on TT Games for that game. But yeah, cheat codes. Remember, cheat codes were so charming back then. I remember when I first figured out how to access the command console when playing Half-Life. And I was like, oh, I can like no clip and I can like leave the map and see what's outside the map. It was so cool.
Now you can do that too if you pay $5.
If you pay $5 for cheat code. Oh, there was actually a couple games that did that. Was it Prototype 2? I don't remember. That was a couple years ago, or maybe a decade ago at this point, where games were charging you for cheat codes. It's like, normally developers put those in there originally as testing, for testing purposes, and then make them cheat codes later so that people can just mess around with the game as like extra stuff. It adds a lot of, art to the game, because the game feels like there's so much extra stuff for you to do. Cheat codes to find out, stuff like that.
Luckily, we have long since realized that there is no such thing as hearts in video gaming anymore.
It's entirely true. Some of them have hearts for health bars.
And there's the thing too. Actually, B Latvia says this in chat as a joke. I'm assuming you got to pay to unlock the play button or watch 15 minutes of advertising. See, you joke up until it's no longer a joke, because that could unironically be a thing. Because what do free-to-play games do now? Like, what does World of Warship do? Their business model is based around the idea of first hooking you in, getting some sunk cost in there, getting you to a tier 2 or 3, getting you to experience the grind, and then seeing a bigger ship and going, if I was in that, I wouldn't be getting my ass kicked. And then they waste your time. They make you grind. And, of course, this is a decent business model as well. That's the thing. It is part of the thing that you sign up for. You sign up for the grind. If you want to play free-to-play, you know that the game is going to do this to you. It is because it's free-to-play. Like, you are trading time for convenience in this case.
Yep.
However, what happens if the game skips that middle point and simply says, all right, you want to play? You want to play another round? You gotta watch 1 minute 30 seconds of advertisement.
That's cancer. That is very much cancer. Chat's also bringing up other games where there was like pay to craft. Dead Space 3. Yes, EA went on a spree where they actually made games incorporate DLC mechanics. Funnily enough, Volition actually put a mechanic for you in the game to actually cheat around the pay system by simply dropping the crafting vehicles randomly. You'll get you'll get the currency you need to get the premium stuff without having to pay for it. Some developers are cheeky and tried to combat that internally too.
And here's the thing too, right? Because honestly, I think this argument is basically dead at this point, so it's not even worth repeating. But a lot of the defenders of this, the simps, are simply saying stuff like, oh, hey, you don't need to worry about this. Some DLC in the game won't change anything. No. If there's DLC in the game, you can bet you're happy at last that the developers have specifically programmed in features to make it appealing to you. Look at Total War Warhammer 3, for example. It is a completely non-competitive game unless you choose to play a multiplayer mode with no gains or losses. It's not like it's Shogun 3, or 3, I wish we had Shogun 3, Shogun 2, where you have a multiplayer mode or anything. No, and yet, even then, in a purely single-player game, basically, what do? They added a new faction and go, look, hey, they added in the Beastmen. Oh, hey, Doom Bulls and Gore Bulls are the biggest monsters in the game now. But then, a few more pieces of DLC later, and a few more DLCs later, as the fucking just graph goes one way only, the Beastmen are sitting there, God damn it.
Now
I
you need to
should've
buy
said
the other thing.
empowered.
Oh, Total War Creative Assembly's DLC packs are insidious. So not only are there like unit packs, which they said they would never do again for factions you already own, right? In Total War Warhammer 1, you want to unlock the Beastmen. You need Total Warhammer 1, then you need the Beastmen DLC. But you'll need to buy Total Warhammer 2 to get the other Beastmen. But funnily enough, they give you two things. They give you some units for Lizardmen, some other factions as well, so that you have mixed things. The idea is that you will feel like, well, I did get a Lord for the Lizardmen, so like I should try the Lizardmen next. Every DLC faction, if you look at them, are paired in such a way that they interlink to each other. This is the scummiest like shit ever, because it's highly manipulative. What it's trying to get you to do, it's trying to be like, well, I haven't tried the Empire and I have this Lord, so I might as well try them. Oh, I don't have all their units, though. I'm missing all the content for the real experience. And then you keep doing that. And it's set up that way for every single race in the Total War Warhammer games. It's the most scummiest thing I've ever seen.
It's not by accident, it's on purpose.
Yep, that is intentional.
Yep. That is the problem. Whenever you begin adding in any sort of monetization, and here's the thing too, because this now leads neatly back to the idea of ads in free-to-play games. All right, if they put a McDonald's Happy Meal box over in the corner there, I don't care. So what? That's not a problem. But that's where it begins, because then they get away with that, and once they've gotten away with that, they're gonna do it again, but a bit more intrusive this time. And then they get away with that. Bit more intrusive next time. A bit more intrusive next time. And again, you can trace this lineage in the entirety of gaming. Pick any setting with multiple entries and DLC and microtransactions, and you will see this precise thing every time. Total War series begins with complete games, and then expansion packs, which were huge additions to the game. Then the expansion packs got smaller, like with Empire Total War, for example, where they're like, okay, but we want a little bit more out of this, so we're going to make a second game, and we're going to basically charge you a little bit less than full price for that. And they got away with it. And then the next game, lots of DLC, a bit more DLC. And then the next game, I said, okay, now we've added like 3 expansional shoguns. What can we do for Rome 2? Oh, I know, like just 12 pieces of DLC. And it just slowly and steadily gets worse until eventually you arrive at Total War Warhammer, which has 3 $60 entries, and I don't even know how many hundreds of dollars of DLC in it.
Yep, and it didn't stop there either. Three Kingdoms Total War, a game that launched and was awful, had slowly been getting a lot better. Total War Three Kingdoms' current state is moderately enjoyable, but the promise it had is gone now, because Total War Warhammer has ruined the Total War franchise. Total War Warhammer has brought about the complete destruction of the franchise. Total War Three Kingdoms was not finished. They were adding the Korean map, and they were teasing the Mongolian stuff to the map. They were going to build it to be basically Asia Total War, which honestly, it sounds pretty cool on paper. Until you realize that the reason why they stopped development for it wasn't because the game wasn't selling well, wasn't because people weren't enjoying it. It was actually because, well, it was selling well now, and people were starting to really enjoy it. Well, why don't we just postpone all these things for a second game? And do the Total War Warhammer formula and sell them as separate games to build a complete game. And look at how well that turned out for Total War Warhammer. Total Warhammer 3 is still in a state in which it's just unacceptable. Its reviews are still plummeting. The game's performance is awful. It's been months since the release of the game, and they haven't fixed it. You want to know why? Because the team they've allocated for it is small. The resources they've allocated to Total War Warhammer are small. Because, well, it's used up its potential for what money it can really make. Now it's time for us to drop it like a rock and move on to something else. Greener pastures, if you will. I'm sure there'll still be more DLC, and eventually the game will get better. God knows how long. But that's unacceptable behavior from a AAA company that has a massive publisher like Sega backing them up. Not acceptable in the slightest.
And we're going to see the same with advertisement in games as well. It's simply just how the world functions. It's lovely, in a way.
I don't think
Let me go through some of the super chats before we move on to the final topic, which is China being China.
Oh, yay. What a surprise.
I know, it's very unusual, and yet not particularly surprising in and of itself. M4 Sopmod 2 Appreciator. Greetings, Arch and Kibbs. Do you remember the Kickstarter VN Mein Waifus the Führer? Apparently, it is dead since it hasn't had any updates in ages despite being fully funded. SMH, that game would have made a great Steam gift. Well, honestly, it doesn't necessarily surprise me. There's been a lot. Oh my god. I remember when Kickstarter stuff was, when the Kickstarter failures were a big deal, and people were like, oh my god, this will kill Kickstarter. Like, Star Citizen will kill Kickstarter. So many of these have just been smash and grabs, basically.
Yep.
And we don't even comment on it anymore. It's a part of life now.
The thing with Kickstarter that I like to think of from a developer standpoint is, yes, you should consider it as a developer because it's an additional market, but you want, and nowadays, if I wanted to do Kickstarter for my project, I need to be considerate of the fact that a lot of people have been burned. A lot of people don't trust developers anymore. So you need to not only have something to show for as a proof of concept, but you need something tangible for the players to actually touch and feel. And it needs to be better than just a little dinky prototype. It needs to be polished as if it was almost the real deal, so to speak. Because people's trust has been burned now. For those of us on the creative side that are trying to start our own stuff, it's not an easy road. And it's a much deserved road. Not that we did it, but it's the other fact that people have abused consumers to such an absurd degree with Kickstarter. And it's tragic. But at the same time, Kickstarter offers a very interesting, way of crowdsourcing a project without having to go through a publisher. It has its ups and downs.
That does. We do need more visual novels, though. Black 1917 says, Quick and Hail Arch Christ, our Lord and Saviour, Breed Gibbs. It's been fun watching them have panic attacks. In relevance to Twitter, I'm sure. Yes, it has been rather funny. It's like, wait, hold on, we can't censor people anymore? Gosh, this is terrible. Yeah. You really would think that at some point they would just go like, hold on, am I the bad guy? Yes. Yes, you are. Mark James, maybe I can pull my Twitter account out of the blue gulag once Elon takes over. That'll be the litmus test. If Elon is interested in making real changes, he will be going through the ban list and debanning people who are banned for clearly, doctrinal reasons. Like the return of... see, what he should do is literally the first announcement he should make is just, I'm bringing back Trump. It would be enormous. It would be retardedly tremendous. Monarch Therapistids Inostron? Question mark. I have a topic for you two to discuss or make a video on. How about the fact Vicky 3 had a leak fully working game and Paradox has a lawyer striking all things on the internet about it, exposing how bad it is, except in 4chan? Really? Victoria 3 is at a leak? Huh.
What kind? Let's take a look, grab it. Send it to me.
I mean, I'd love to have a go at that. See, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they're... see, the thing is, they would be lawyering that regardless, because that is... it's intellectual property they're working on. Yep. It's a game they're working on, and people have access to it early. Like, they would be striking that no matter what. But, I mean, after the whole warfare thing, I am almost entirely convinced that it's going to be bloody awful. Almost sure.
Victoria 3 looks like they've desaturated a lot of the soul. I like the idea of expanding the economic side of the game more, and expanding the pop system more could be cool. But if you just completely gut the warfare system, why did you do that? And I can tell you why they did that. It sounds like a great expansion pack DLC, doesn't it? Just like with Hearts of Iron. You want to access spy and subterfuge mechanics? Well, there's a $20 DLC with your name on it. What's that? You want logistics? $20. $20.
Yep. I hate using Game Rant as a source for anything because they are bad human beings, but it was the first point available on DuckDuckGo, so, give me a break.
Oh, I do like that artwork, though.
Paradox Interactive's Victoria 3 has been leaked, is claimed. Fully leaked and is being actively pirated. Hold on a second.
Well, Paradox, I'll give you my business number if you need help.
Sadly, it's not available on this site, at least.
It's the actual dev build of the game, according to somebody in chat. You'll read that later, but that's relevant for now. It's bad.
So if a massive leak result in Victoria, they can full lead online. For them to turn to beta build is now available for download at shared channels. Family plan 4chan.
Somebody internally leaked it.
Good job, 4chan. Good job.
Somebody inside the studio must not be happy with what's happening.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of drama going on inside of Paradox right now. I'm still sitting on their sexual harassment complaint report.
Oh boy.
There's a lot of drama. Like when they kicked that female lead of theirs out, that caused a lot of shit. And she herself was probably a pretty heavy duty asshole in all due likelihood as well. A lot of people don't seem to like her. I would not be surprised if Paradox was creaking at the seams internally.
See, that's the thing. Like a team building skills. That's something the first thing I learned when getting into indie development. Like if you have a good team, it's great. But if you have people that just it isn't clicking or there's tensions beginning to build, that can destroy everything. And if Paradox has allowed this sort of toxic sort of mentality to get out of hand, like what's happening internally is going to bubble over to everything they're doing. And I wouldn't even be surprised. Look at the quality of their products. That's got to put a lot of stress on the developers, because trust me, like developers in this regard, they care what people say. Maybe not the head honcho, but I've met people for certain games that didn't get received well and asked them what their thoughts were on like the reception, and it bothers them. Like having released a game or making Stellaris and having it get ragged on all the time by people for just being kind of that sort of lame duck, or like the Imperator Rome game, like that hurts somebody because they spent so much time working on it. They worked so hard, and for it to turn out shit because somebody in upper management just led them on a wrong path, you know, that sucks.
I also like this part of, because again, this is Game Rant. This is leftism, pure leftism. It's like some people on the forum seems to be criticizing Paradox for an unfinished beta build. Shut up, whore. Shut up. Just whore. Shut up. Shut up. Just backhand across the mouth. Because here's the thing: Paradox fans are amongst some of the most hardcore goddamn fans of grand strategy that exists. This isn't your casual ass goddamn backyard accessibility leftist video game. This is good shit, and it has been good shit for so many years, and Paradox has been slipping and slipping and slipping and slipping. We will yell at them. Everyone should yell at them, because if it's bad, like here's the thing: in beta, you can tell if a grand strategy game is going to be a good grand strategy game, because we're not talking about the polish here. We're not talking about the game crashing or having performance issues or anything like that. I remember playing Europa Universalis 2 and it crashing every like 2 hours. I still play the shit out of that game. We're not even talking about like the polish or the finish. Like, have you seen the Europa Universalis 2 without the goddamn graphic mods? It looks awful.
Yeah, those old Clausewitz engine games are they're not pretty. But they're dripping with content. It's like the the Darkest Hour mod for Hearts of Iron or whatever overhaul. Like
it looks like hot dog shit.
Yeah, like without those mods and stuff to help make them look a lot more presentable. Ugh. And even so, grand strategy games were never about the visuals. They were all about the gameplay, the mechanics, the systems, the fact that you felt so much weight. You felt like you were, you know, the premier of a great nation leading it, you know, onwards, or, you know, there's so much cool stuff with grand strategy games. And that's why people are mad, because the casualization of GSG games has really fucked like that feeling of, you know, macro. The micro aspect is taking over too much, because it's easier for players to play micro than macro.
And it's that, I hate that march towards accessibility. Oh, that's a relevant super channel. Pick that one. I'll pick that one out of the masses. Monarch Thrashavid Inostron. I recommend downloading it. It's as bad as you think. Yes, I tried it. War is observer mode. I mean, it couldn't be anything but observer mode. Like, you're
fuck.
making a grand strategy game, and you've removed warfare. Fuck you. I don't care. We're focusing on the other. No, you're not. You are lying to me. Like, I do not believe you for a second. I made this mistake with Total War. We're like, if we make only one war, the AI will do sieges better. Really? Is that true?
I remember
I'm fine
that.
with that. Okay, no, let's try that. Like, you pissed in my hand, didn't you? Like, you lied. You lied.
That's the thing about grand strategy games. Grand strategy games, peacetime is just as important as wartime. Wartime is when the tensions are hot. That's when the two nations have finally coming to blows. This is a big climactic thing. The outcome of this event, this war in this Paradox game, is going to change the shape of how the game is going to be played from there on after. If you lose it, you might have to pay, debt, you might lose cede territory, and you might, have a civil war because it might destabilize your nation. There's so much shit at stake when the war happens. The fact that it's relegated to a fucking observer mode is the dumbest thing ever.
The worst part too, it's not even a good observer mode. It's I mean, I haven't played this version, so I can't tell precisely, but from all of the screenshots we've seen, it just looks like the combat resolution in every other Paradox game ever, with a little green bar and a red bar going on. Yeah, this is your relative advantage. Once the bar reaches the other end, you win.
It's basic, but I'd still take the classic Victoria 2 combat, even if it is basic, over it being automated. No.
I mean, Victoria 2 combat was actually more complicated than most Paradox games combat. That's the thing. At least in Victoria 2, you had unit types and you had unit engagement ranges. That's more than Europa Universalis has, or Rome. Remember that one?
Oh, Imperator Rome. Actually, Imperator Rome, you could set the stance of your army. And that was dumb, because you had to predict what stance the enemy had, so it's literally rock, paper, scissors anyways.
Yeah. No, it's very goddamn stupid, and I hate it a lot. Like, fuck. Victoria 3. My God, we waited for so long, and it's going to be a turd. And I'm just going to enjoy yelling at it. That's how I take pleasure in things right now. I'm just going to enjoy yelling at things.
I can't wait till we do our launch day stream of it, Arch. It'll be great. It'll be boring. Oh, it'll be just like when we did Imperator Rome. Awful.
And let me just point out as well here. I get it. The developers are like, we're being lambasted. That's just really bad. And hey, a lot of these people, it might not be their fault. It might just be leadership going, hey, make dog shit video games. Okay. Like, I'm not yelling at the programmers or the 3D artists. Like, these people are fucking blameless. But the game developers, they are to blame for this. They are directly to blame for this. Like that guy who, after Imperator Rome, sent out the forum post going, I should just quit. I don't know how to make video games anymore. Yep. And at first I was kind of sympathetic. Like, okay, at least you're talking with people. You're making changes. You're updating Imperator Rome. You're going to try to make it better. And even then I was like, but can you?
And they didn't.
No, they can't.
They abandoned Imperator Rome. They accepted the fact
because
it
was unsalvageable. It was unsalvageable, and it was unsalvageable from a design perspective. That is a game design fuck up.
The people responsible are actually like essentially they're Paradox kibs. Like, it'd be like if I designed a terrible thing. Like, you can't blame the programmers, you can't blame the artists, you got to blame me. Because the designs are bad. The 3 mana point system wasn't the programmer's fault who made it. Now, they should have played the game. The people who worked on the game should have played the game. The people who played the game or worked on the game should also be pointing out these things. But each studio is different. Some studios allow people from the other departments to comment and critique things. Other ones, it's not so open office. Other ones, it's the opposite.
Remember, Paradox recently fired their QA staff after Imperator Rome.
I mean, they should have, because the QA staff failed.
The thing is, there's a lot of conflicting reports on this, but the QA people claim that they got fired basically because they kept sending letters to the head office going, this fucking sucks. Please change it.
In that case, the people who fired them should be investigated because they're clearly trying to hinder the company. But there needs to be a proper investigation internally behind that then. Because if you got two conflicting stories...
I suspect that's why the female boss had to go, because she fucked up Imperator and she fucked up Bloodlines.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that vampire game, we're never getting that. And honestly, thank God, because they couldn't make it. Not after the writer came out and said that he wouldn't write what he wrote back then, because things have changed. That's not okay. That's not alright. That's not acceptable. I don't want to see what that would have looked like, because it would have been woke trash to begin with. So we were blessed that that got cancelled. Look at it. Look at the bright side. Look at the bright side.
I mean, I traveled to Germany to see a preview of that game, because it can't be that bad, right? No, it was that bad.
Yeah.
Right. Onwards from Paradox, otherwise this will be the entire stream. Might ashamed, Nike swoosh on SPNKR rocket launcher in Halo. See, that'd be kind of funny. Like, you gotta pay to remove it. That would be great. Like, you don't pay for the skins anymore. You pay to remove the advertisement off the skin. Oh, I know. Okay, this is how it is, right? Every person who plays the Halo free-to-play game looks like Pablo Schreiber. No helmet. Pablo Schreiber. You gotta pay to put the helmet on.
It's like, if we give the players a hideous cosmetic that makes them embarrassed to play, they might want to change it. You know, that's not a terrible idea.
It isn't.
Look at this cool armor you could be wearing, but you're just Pablo Schreiber. You're like, yeah, that's pretty lame.
And every time you die, there's a voice line that plays, and it's Pablo Schreiber's voice. Wouldn't you rather play Halo?
Don't you miss Halo, guys?
$5.
I mean, to be fair, Halo's been dead for a long time. Some of the fans haven't accepted this. It's okay. It's all right. You'll get there. We all do at some point. But the Halo IP's been dead. Microsoft and 343 killed it. It's dead. Let it go.
Sentinel Rex says, it will be ads that pause the game. Let's be real. There might be. Oh, we don't even know what this is going to look like just yet, but wouldn't surprise me. Mocked Ashamed says, or YouTube, stop that. YouTube. There you go. Halo fans just wanted to have Sheaf. Not Chief. Sheaf. There you go. Sheaf, keep his helmet on. But Hollywood could not resist the chance to strip off all the armor from Pablo and whore his immaculate ass around. I will say this. The Halo TV show does appear to have an abnormal fascination with people's butts.
Yes. I've seen more asses in that show than I was expecting. I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be about fighting, shooting aliens and stuff like that. I mean, to be honest, real kids knew better. It was gonna be woke as trash, which is what it is. But that was just, I wasn't expecting the amount of asses that we've seen. How many have we seen?
We've seen Pablo's ass. We've seen evil Nazi person on Desert Planet's ass. We've seen, I don't even know what her name is, Spartan who rubs gun grease onto her hair's ass.
Yep. Covenant Girl's ass.
Covenant Girl's ass. Yep, there you go. So, I mean, we've already seen the asses of pretty much damn near all of the main characters, except for Miranda Keyes' ass and Halsey.
It's true. Captain Keyes' ass, too.
No, we've kind of seen Halsey's ass, too, because she was the clone, and she was half naked basically all the time.
No, she was wearing that little jumpsuit thing. She wasn't quite naked.
Mark Tain also says, then Play Hobby developed games like Renegade X or Angel Falls First. The devs are disgusted with the industry, so they don't make games to make money or standalone mods. Graphics might be low, but gameplay is still top-notch.
Yep, Renegade X is pretty good. And I heard they're working on a Firestorm X, which is set in the Tiberian Sun universe. That'll be pretty cool.
That would actually be kind of funny, yeah. What was that? Angels Falls First. Yeah, that was the one with the early access. I think I've marked that on my my wish list because that does look cool.
It looks cool. I played it, but I've heard from a lot of people when I played it on our Discord community. I was streaming it to them, and they came in and told me the game was dead. And I did a little bit of research, and it looks like it might be dead. Don't quote me on that though. I haven't done full research into it.
Well, Kyle killed it.
I didn't kill it. I'm just trying to be honest so people don't buy things and then realize it's dead, but also I don't want to shaft the developers if they are still working on it at the same time. I'm just saying, advise caution.
This is why I try to avoid early access games. Baranga2 says, I'm not salty for your mistakes in Saga. I'm happy that you tried it out. Have this money as thank you. As much as I want that 2v2, I understand if you want to move on to other games. Oh, don't worry. We weren't
Hold on.
salty. We were joking.
I speak to Moringa2 in my Discord, okay? I can bully him. It's okay. I know him now.
Fine.
Moringa2. You're salty. Don't pretend, because you keep bringing it up. And how many months has it been since we played it? Look yourself in the mirror, Moringa2. He's like, no.
I'm sure.
You're guilty. You are salty. You brought it up. You brought it up not only this stream with the super chat, but you brought it up in streams before. How many months has it been? You gotta let it go. You gotta move on. There. Now that I put him in his place, and he knows better now.
Popat Sot says, the situation with Elon has been looking like the reverse uncanny Mr. Incredible. Watching the Twitter staff spurge out has my throbbing god rod so hard it could be used to bludgeon small things to death right now. Cry harder. Good. They should cry. So John says, DuckDuckGo is sitting there going full Google, only trusted MSMs allowed. Okay, well, moving to fucking Yandex then. God damn it. I don't know how to use Yandex, but... yeah.
Use what you have to for yourself to succeed. God damn it, Arch.
On the bright side, it's Russian, so the porn is doubtlessly going to be interesting.
Experimental, to say the least.
Just for funsies, let's type porn into Yandex. Oh, it's all Cyrillic. There you go. Oh, yep, yep. It's, this definitely ain't Google, I'll say that much. Well, that's one upside, if nothing else. Right, let's move on to the last topics, and then we'll wrap up with the last of the super chats. As it turns out that the country over on the other side of the world is called China, and it does China things.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about China.
Has warned us of this.
Let's open this bad boy up. This is tragic.
Yes, so in China, as many of you already know, there is a very strict acceptance system. Basically, if your game hasn't been pre-accepted by the Chinese censorship board, you are not allowed to sell your game in China. Now, Steam, I believe it's back up in China after it went down for a while. I'm not sure. I think like it might still be soft blocked, but there are ways around it. But you can still access Steam in China, at least if you know what you're doing. And that's how you can get unaccepted games. And so now, people have been playing unauthorized titles, including, amongst other things, Total War Warhammer 3. That is not a accepted title in Ching Chong Bing Bong land. And so people are now getting their streaming channels shut down and their videos deleted and banned if they stream unauthorized titles.
This is disgusting. But China's known for disgusting shit. Like, have you seen those? I know this is a little unrelated, but have you seen the videos coming out of, like, some of their cities where there are people starving to death? What do they call it? The city of screams?
They've walled off another city, going like, "We're fighting COVID." Really? I mean, it looks like ethnic cleansing to me, but
yes,
sure.
They not only do they wall it off, but there's like apparently, like allegedly, like the cities just sound like they're wailing at night because people are just like starving and there's fighting and there's people dying, killing themselves. It's absolute chaos over there. Pretty fucked up.
China.
I mean, it was never a first world nation to begin with. Let's be real. Oh, sad.
Once again, I point out that everyone has no problems banning Russia right now, but still no word about China.
It's Shanghai, says chat. Yeah. Thank you for helping with the name.
Pointless virtue signaling. That's what the whole Russia ban thing is, 98%, until they start moving on to China as well. But why are they doing this? Well, it is to cut down on abnormal aesthetics and harmful celebrity fan culture. Now, I, as everyone else with a penis, applauded loudly when they started banning those Korean pop idol groups with the boys, because frankly, that shit is abnormal. However, it evolved, much to everyone's surprise.
What? As he types
the
furiously.
Censorship expanded, first in history.
No way, Arch, you're lying.
Hold on. Right. Here you go, Kyle.
All right.
Look me in the eyes and tell me this is not an abnormal aesthetic.
Yeah, that's a boy band vibe right there.
I can sympathize with China wishing to keep this out of its country, but they're going a bit too far right now.
Nope, that's horribly racist, Kibbs. Don't say that. No, that's horrible. I thought of a really funny joke, but then I cannot say on YouTube. I'll tell you privately later.
Don't know about that either.
You remember the anime critique somebody gave once where they changed the anime hair color on the different characters, but the face stayed the same?
No.
Okay, well, chat, you know, if for those of you who know that joke, the rest of your brain will put together the rest of it. It's pretty good. A little spicy.
And of course, now China is cracking down on all of it. Like, video gaming will just be banned in China. They haven't been approving video games for like 6 months, and I think they approved a couple recently, and then it'll probably stop for another like 6 months. China basically doesn't want to have video games at all. Unless they're state up. I'm sure they'll have a couple of video games which will literally just be Chinese video games. Where it's like, you play as China. You take over the world. Oh, I see. What's that island over there? More China. Very well. And this is yet another step in that general direction. Or they'll just have Chinese Steam because, you know, Valve has already cucked nice and hard to all of that.
It's like the same thing with the Elon Musk thing. If you truly want change, you need the money to do it. But I don't think Valve is doing anything.
Now, I am also noticing that chat is going not far enough the moment you bring up the Korean boy bands. I mean, again, chat, I sympathize. I see your line of reasoning. I very much so do.
It's a slippery slope, chat. Fight the urge.
Yeah, but you can slip pretty far down this slope before you run into a problem. Oh, here we go. This is another cringe one.
And there goes Arch down the slope. He's like, wee.
There. Oh, we'll just have a few up on these screens too, because you know I can sympathize with parts of China's position here. I just think they're going a little bit far right now. That's all.
My Discord, come over there. I don't want to dox Barch's DMs. Dox, leak. I'm not Slutimus. Slutimus, right in the balls.
Oh my god, that one's actually worse. Here you go.
That's pretty, it hurts me. Please, FBI, it's not a child. Not a child.
Like I was saying, abnormal aesthetics. Like I can see the line of reasoning. I can.
That's almost
but
in the
banning,
uncanny valley. So.
Yes, but banning all unauthorized video games is a bit far. Like, at least let your people watch other people play the video games they would like to play, but aren't
that's
allowed.
painful. Like, I wish I could play that.
But at least it's something, you know. It's something. At least then they can look at it and they can be like, man, I can almost experience playing the video game. Almost.
But not quite.
But not quite. Yeah. Here, we'll give chat some relief. I feel like we've abused chat a frightening amount these last few pictures. Right, now that everything is back as it should, and chat's stomach is able to settle a bit, I do like chat's reaction. What's worse, too, is this is going to be enforced, of course, in the same way that China enforces everything, where they will track your ass down using your IP. Like, they won't just ban the person doing the stream. They'll actually try to figure out who was watching whilst they were doing it, too. And, obviously, all of the content that already exists, they've gone directly to the companies and asked them to delete it. And better yet, they're taking the YouTube approach, where they're just laying out the line of stupid things and going like, here, delete all of these things. And they can look up and go like, what does even all of this mean? We don't know. You best be sure you've deleted all of it, though. Otherwise,
Whoops.
They're also, this is also another step in the war against Steam, partially, as Tencent also announced that they've had like servers open where you could go onto Tencent services and you could access games that were, you know, for on other platforms. You could go on their thing and you could access a platform that theoretically was in England or Germany or America, etc. And you could play games via that. That is also now dead and gone. That's also now stopped. Ah, China.
They're
Why art thou China?
They are that way. Well, you can look back. What was it? 60 years, 70 years now. 1949, Chinese Civil War. Like, had we intervened, things could have been different.
Well, you didn't. That was your failure, Kyle.
We should have. Could you imagine what China would look like? They'd have to get rid of the blue shirt still, but they did that. They did that in Taiwan. They would do it again.
Oh, poor little Chinese people. I feel bad for you. You should move to India.
Actually,
Like,
fun fact.
Censorship's fun.
The reason why China claims that Indochina belongs to them, hence why they call it Indochina, is because throughout their centuries of murder, starvations, a lot of them settled in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Burma, and that region. Because they were like, China kind of sucks. I kind of want to not be here anymore. People migrated there.
You mean kind of like how vast quantities of Chinese people are settling in Australia right now?
They're like, I kind of don't want to be in China no more. Can you blame them?
Buying up all the land. Oh, poor Australia.
Yeah, but
it'll be China 2.0 very soon.
But that's not Chinese people buying up land to leave and become Australian citizens. That's China colonizing.
Yes.
That's a completely different thing. One is them moving to become something else. One of them's moving to take over.
Yes. All right, let's begin back on the super chats to start wrapping them up. Oh, Jesus, that's Actually, you know what? One more for chat.
Oof.
I feel they deserved it.
True. They didn't yes man enough. Like, what? No. That's how we read.
Chloe says, no ads in video games. If we allow this, it will become in your face eventually. Shortly, probably. If they are allowed to put ads or other money source in their games, that removes more customer control over the company, and we already have a hard enough time already. That is absolutely true. I mean, ads in video games are not going to be a good thing. The Grizzly says, down with GW, up with Mantic. I'd say down with both of them. Mantic has not done well enough either. Like, they're a soft and gentle company and should be beaten.
That's what they get for being
Vogue
weak.
says, top 3 anime of the season, Spy X Family, Paripi Kome, Koi wa Sekai Seifuku no Ato de, Love at World Animation. Have a blessed Easter weekend. That's color swapped Kibs, says chat.
What?
That's true.
Hey, Spy X Family is pretty good. Can attest to it. Saw the first episode.
Icthulu says, how on earth China doesn't have a CCP version of country music is beyond me.
That's it, chat.
That'd be funny.
We're taking that image down. And all of them. Fuck it. You know what? You don't get to look at that anymore. Fuck you, chat. I now understand what they were talking about color swap.
I found a better one.
Okay, you can have it back, but this time it's upgraded. Better, chat.
So John says they don't want games being played because of the power draw. Oh, it's like Chinese infrastructure not good enough. Oh, that'd be sad. But no, it is actually a whole thing over there where, like, people, how do I put this? Basically, they're creating like boot camps to send their children to cut them off from the internet. Like, literally, to intern them in little boot camps and go like, no. You don't get to play video games anymore. You must become upstanding member of society.
Cringe.
Yes. Black 1917 says, here's some older anime suggestions. Jormungand, Nightwalker, Those Who Hunt Elves. That last one I know is particularly goddamn old. I didn't like Jormungand. Like, it had a cool story, kinda, but it was too Keikaku Dori in his own ways. Black 917, watching other people play something you can't have increases the likelihood that the person flees the country and tells you their secrets. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad point you've brought up there. Glowy says, the companies have come up with a way to charge you $120 per game. Chop up a game, call the other pieces DLC, and there you go. Yes. That is basically what they're going. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there. Skullthrone, 888. Kibbs makes whinge sounds. .exe initiated.
Scully, do we need to kick your ass in Team Fortress 2 again? He's like, yeah.
Mark Ashamed. Or for RTS, you could do Total Annihilation subcom thing and kill the enemy commander equals victory.
Supreme Commander.
I do look forward to that subcom thing that they were working on, the mod guys for Borderlands.
Yep, that's a good one. Also, keep an eye on Beyond All Reason, BAR. Met the developers for that. They're pretty fucking chill. And they do, the PvE guy, the guy who designed the scavengers, they were talking about doing a campaign for their game as well. So that's another good Total Annihilation successor.
That's pretty cool. And if they're willing to talk with somebody like you...
they're just passionate about their game. They Look at that. I can't believe you said that. You know, stop it. I am equal to Barge. Maybe not in size.
Careful.
In stature.
Careful, Gibbs. Or I'm going to make you put up another picture of Catboys, and chat will really hate you for that.
I have the power. I don't have to.
Diego Flores, do you think the leak and backlash Paradox could postpone it until they make drastic changes as to not face another Imperator Rome? They should. I mean, if it's as bad as people seem to think it is, they should. The problem is, you fuck up a grand strategy game at the design stage. Like, making a good or bad strategy game is intrinsic baseline mechanics. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is basically moving sliders around. Like, every grand strategy game can be boiled down to moving sliders.
Kinda, yeah.
If you fucked up those sliders and they're not fun and they don't have a good effect on the world, that isn't a mechanics issue, because the sliders are doing the exact same thing they're always doing. They're increasing or decreasing 1 to 0, basically. But there's a wide variety of different impacts that those sliders can have. For example, in something like Crusader Kings, when you're plotting an assassination, all you're doing is moving a slider towards the right until you have a large enough percentage chance to succeed in assassination. That's all you're doing. But that isn't what the game is telling you you're doing. The game is telling you that you're bribing people and you're finding out their weaknesses and you're blackmailing them to side with your plot, and you're disparaging the person you want to assassinate so more people side with you. That is what I mean with making the moving of the sliders good. And that, again, that is a design thing, because there's a lot of thought that goes into that. Imperator Rome, it has all the sliders, it has all the buttons, it has all the mana mechanics you could ever goddamn well want, yet nobody liked it. And such is life.
Actually, one thing I was going to say is Paradox Games actually, if you haven't noticed, they've removed sliders from their game formula almost completely.
Yes, which only made shit worse.
Like, the slider is actually an important thing to have.
It's like when they decided to, in Hearts of Iron 4, go, you know what, that message system in Hearts of Iron 3, that incredibly useful and unbelievably modular system that you could set up precisely like you wanted? Let's just delete that. Nobody liked that, right? Nobody liked that. Let's instead have no messages, ever, and when your fleet gets in combat, we're going to play a little ding, ding, and hope that you catch it.
Oh no, they're dead. Oh.
Fucking Paradox.
That's true.
Oh, I spent an hour when I first got Hearts of Iron 4 looking for the message system because I couldn't fathom in my wildest dreams that they would have just removed it.
Indeed.
My soul escapes my body.
Good. That's what you get.
Grizzly says, Mantic just made their own version of 40k and it looks better than 40k. I think it's called Dead Zone or Onslaught or something. It looks really cool. They also had a new army to Kings of War called Rift Forged Orcs. Again, the problem with Mantics is they're just making a Warhammer in 40k.
Yeah, the thing is, you gotta build something new. Like, that's the problem with a lot of people that do the whole Warhammer stuff or want to be like, oh, I'm going to make a competitive Warhammer. And then they just end up making Warhammer. It's like, oh, it's just grim dark. It's got big derpy space marine. You're like, no, like do something different. Like Warhammer will be better at doing what Warhammer does, even if they kill themselves, because this is just how it is. It's like when they try to do the Halo killers for shooter games when Halo came out. Like, you can't do Halo better than Halo can do Halo. Do something else. Be unique. Make something. Why should I care about your IP? You're trying to compete now directly with another IP that's well established. Good fucking luck. You're on a one-way trip to failure, pretty much. Unless the gods and stars align themselves to you.
But if Mantic would ever turn based,
what do you mean?
Then I'll get on board. Even if it's just 40k, but not quite.
I mean, at this point, Games Workshop is such a heinous company. They hate their fans. They hate you. Every last one of you. They hate all of you. They hate Arch. They hate every other content creator. They hate all of you. Stop buying their shit. Like, just don't fucking give them money.
Well, that's not quite true, Kyle. They still like the people they can, buy.
They like you until you hand them their money and they're like, get the fuck out. We don't want to see your ugly fat ass here anymore. That is basically their doctrine. We've already had that leaked. Like, they're like, oh, as soon as they buy, get them out. We don't want to see their ugly ass here again until they give us their goddamn money. Like, that's all that your value is to them. You are just there to pay them. You have no actual value as a fan. They hate you. Why like something like that?
Because they're pretty toy soldiers.
Then make something else pretty toy soldier wise.
Artemis Fowl says, I bet Kibbs' game will be so tame that it will pass the Chinese filters. Oof.
Oh, that's mean. Why are you slinging shade? You know why? Because that's true. We've been dunking on little Slutimus. Slutimus, your days of being bullied are only just getting started.
His taste in waifus are abysmal, it is true.
That's true. Slutimus is like, how can they be united against me? He's going to try to divide and conquer. That's going to be his next strategy, by the way.
The Dastly Dutchman says, Kibbs equal to art, and many, many laughing noises. To be fair, I can agree with that.
Wow, simp. Simp!
Go the dark. As much as China is bad, we do need to get Kibbs off phones and couch here in America. We need to send them a lot of them to fat camp, or they will get diabetes. Kibbs? Kids, not Kibbses. I'm sure Kibbs could require a fat camp too, to be frank.
Also, don't forget to switch to live chat. I forgot to do that. God damn it.
And Chloe says, one day I wish I wish I or others make a great game development program so we can chop it up and sell it to the game companies piecemeal and call it DLC. That would be funny. If nothing else. Now, I will try to remember to put out a community tab thing tomorrow to announce it wider as well, but there will not be RP tomorrow, partially because it is Easter Sunday, people are off, and partially because I have gained custody of Sargon, and I will be spending time with Sargon, who's now my child, even though he's older than me.
Adoptive. What are you going to be doing with Sargon? Going to tell chat? Because you're going to a stream.
No, I'm not going to tell chat. They're going to have to wait and see. It'll be funny, though.
It'll help them figure out where it's going to be. Tell them where it'll be, you fool.
Oh, you can't find it even if you look. It's on Sargon's actual channel, which has been deranked to the point of basically being a ghost now.
Okay, send me a link then.
I'll link it in the community thing when it pops
Okay.
up.
Okay, so it'll be on Sargon's channel, so check it out. It'll be around when the RP is. And that's fine, because
Yes.
turns out Hans has to work on fucking Easter, poor bastard. And I'll be stealing food from my family, and yeah. It's Easter, so just enjoy the holiday, and be sure to stop by and say hello to Barch over there. We might do some games later.
Might do some games later, yes. But we will partially at least be talking about chaos and how a lot of 40k fans have adopted the chaos narrative on their hobby. And it seems pretty goddamn stupid, frankly.
You can feel the bunny ears around the fan part there.
The bunny ears.
You were doing it with your hands, weren't you? Fans.
Hold on. Just one second there. Ah, there we go. I knew it.
What?
I knew that would be a thing. Right, we'll end it with this one.
Oh.
Oh.
That's so cringe right there. What?
There you go, chat. That's your bunny ears right there.
Why? Like, this is like high school girls eat this shit up, if I had to guess.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. In fact, I believe if we just started DMing all of this to Disco, she would just never respond. She would be too busy.
She'd be like looking up more stuff about him, like, where can I find? She becomes big into whatever, what is it, BTS or something?
BTS?
Isn't that what that is?
I'm not sure.
I don't understand or know. I just saw people saying BTS stuff, and it was like really everything attached to it was genuinely terrible to read and turned my spine to jello. Yeah. So is it? I think it might be related. It might be a band or something. I don't know. I don't care.
Well, chat, you have received your bunny ears. Be grateful. Also, Andrew Jackson. You missed a lot of RP sessions of late. I know. Well, we're going to be getting back on track fairly soon. And, don't be sad. Otherwise, there'll be more bunny ears in the RP as well. In fact, this would make for an excellent demon summon right there.
Oh, no. Well, to be fair, chat doesn't know what demon I picked, so they're going to have to find out. Could be that. That could be literally the icon for them. Like, oh.
Until next time, chat. Thank you all very much for watching, and thank you for all your super generous super chats. And we will see you all again next week.
No,
Arvis Fowl says, why does Kibbs know so much about Korean boy bands? That's a good question.
Why does Kibbs know so much? Oh, fuck you.
Disco is a wholesome child. Not until she sees the bunny ears.
It's called corruption, and it affects us all, chat.
It does. Have a good night.